I've been told that I'm the spitting image of my mother. I've also been told that we have similar mannerisms and that when I talk, they see her. It makes sense since she's the one I've spent most of my time imitating and learning from. Last year, I was at a store in my hometown and the cashier looked at me and said, "You're Deb's daughter, right? You look exactly like her." And in that moment, I felt like somehow my response and actions were a representation of my mom. So, in some ways, I was made in my mother's image. My actions are a reflection of my relationship with her and the character she instilled in me while raising me. On a much more important note, the Bible tells me that I'm made in the image of God. Genesis 1:27 says, "So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them." So who cares if we look like God? And we are all made in different shapes and sizes, so what does that even mean? Does God made physically, emotionally, or creatively? What parts of us reflect God? Since we are made in the image of God, our purpose is to reflect God's image. Your work, creativity, and behavior are all things in which we can use to reflect the attributes of God. When we do this, it's called glorifying God. In Hebrew, the word image used in Genesis 1:27 is tselem, which literally means image bearer or statue. Some biblical translations use the word idol. If you came across Caesar's statue in a city in the Roman Empire, that tells you that that statue represents what the people of that city see as perfect, mighty, and worthy of service. It's their ultimate standard of living. We were made to image God, and our actions serve as an arrow pointing back to God. When you think of the word glorify, I want you to think of an arrow pointing to something you find important. This arrow represents what we're shining the light on or giving glory to. Matthew 5:16 says, "Let your light so shine among men that they may see your good deeds and give glory to your Father in heaven." It's worth mentioning that God doesn't need our glory, but instead is the only thing worthy of it. His infinite perfection, justice, love, and mercy means that he's the only one qualified to receive it. So this arrow, it points to what we're glorifying. Everything about us and the things that we do. We are blessed to be able to enjoy these things on this earth. The purpose of these is to draw the arrow back to the one who gave them to us. So when we do this, we glorify God. There are obstacles. I like the way Oakwood senior Nathan Fader puts it.
So as Christians, we're always going to be hindered. I mean, if the world loves you, you're doing something wrong. I mean, we just read this, I think. Satan's going to try to tempt us with this and with that. And he's going to put people in our lives to get us off track because that's what Satan wants to do. Satan wants to screw us up, and Satan wants us to not glorify God, right? If the world's glorifying you and loving you, you're probably doing something wrong.
The enemy will want us to think that other things deserve a little piece of the glory. These could be things or people or distractions. The most dangerous lie Satan tells you is that you deserve some of God's glory. That God is lucky to have you. That God made you a little extra amazing than he did everyone else. Pride can so easily creep in and cause us to point the arrow back at ourselves. People are watching, whether you know it or not. They're paying attention to what you're glorifying. Hebrews 12:1 says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." We must refuse to live in a course of sin that will not stand in the favor of God. So, what does it look like to glorify God in your own life? Is there something you need to change in your life in order to better point people to God? Is there ever a situation where you can share the stage with God? Please share your answers to these questions in your Zoom groups.